Live gekeken hier. Aha, ik denk dat nog niet te luid als ja, ik hoor mijn dingen gekeken hier. Gekeken hier. That seems alright, I think. That seems alright, I think. No, 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 that's still too loud. Ik ga een beetje. No, 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 that's still too loud. Kijk, nu al beter of nog steeds te luid? Kijk, nu al beter of nog steeds te luid? Well, anyway, that's why I'm gonna talk about why Cottagecore actually rules, actually. Well, it's a lot. Anyway, that's why I'm gonna talk about why Cottagecore actually rules, actually. Well, it's a lot. Alright, down. Hope this works. Right. I'll talk about Cottagecore while I play a relatively violent game. Alright, I think I got this right. Well, actually, let's talk about one of my favorite genres. Well, not necessarily my favorite genres, but well, one of my favorite series is actually Cottagecore. I mean, it's called Heidi of the Alps and Anne of Green Gables. It's literally one of my favorite shows of all time, and now obviously Cottagecore is only as good as its execution as much as any story written book movie whatever. However, what else began? Obviously, but I think why Cottagecore appeals so much is because the whole less is more. The whole less is more, yeah. Because often not, yeah. How do I put this without? Because well, again, well, maybe I should explain what Cottagecore actually is. I mean, mostly it's a slice of life, more likely. I mean, it's more about the common, the I guess the common problems like yeah, the common about it's more about the growing pains of yeah of living actually. I mean, yeah, like kind of like maybe like living on a mountain or living with your adopted parents. I mean, again, and sure, and usually I don't have much focus on action or world building, or it's more about characters experiencing the mundanity of life. I mean, now, sure, in a literal description, that seems like boring, like yeah, or like very niche, but I mean, yeah, it seems like very niche. I mean, yeah, like, I mean, like, I guess what makes Cottagecore work, or at least the good ones. Now, sure. I mean, again, I'm just gonna pretend they're all good for the moment. I mean, what at least what a good Cottagecore is, or a slice of life. It's how I previously called it like you have like that's not easy. I need to think. Because well, usually even the I'll give you a simple example. You know, like the most action-driven shows, the best parts are usually the character development or like the character development or like the characters that you interact with or like again when characters struggle. It's not really about fighting the enemies, but more about the struggle. I mean, yeah. I guess what usually the action, And yeah, world building usually is secondary to the real meat. Like yeah, mostly like the character struggle, whatever. That's usually the highlight of. I'm going to take cartoons for instance. I mean, it's mostly cartoons what I'm talking about. That's what I'm familiar with. But again, I mean, when people talk about Owl House or She-Ra, they don't talk about oh look at the action or the yeah again of action or like world building. It's more about the character struggles, what they go through. And guess what? Cottagecore usually lacks action, which is totally fine. I mean, sometimes action can be gameplay, video, brightness, easy headshots. Yeah, I know. So ironically, I'm playing a very violent game, but anyway, yeah, it's usually more about character struggle. I mean, about again mundane things like again maybe like losing a pet or maybe having a lost jewel, maybe a lost jewel like you need to find back. I mean, usually there's no like a real villain to fight. And guess what? And this is why I usually think that the best stories or the best stories that are written are usually the ones that are the ones that are allowed to take less and make more out of it. Guess what? I mean, an easy example is just that the more interesting characters are the ones that struggle against the villains rather than be a. I mean, usually it's a rule that the more flawed a character is, the more interesting that they are. Now that's not a universal rule, but let's say yeah, like. Well, I will say it's not an instant good character, but it's usually a good reason why people say that. Yeah, I mean, overcoming obstacles is more interesting than defeating obstacles. Yeah, that's an example of taking less as more, or of characters having flaws. Or I mean, nobody likes a character that is perfect, so to speak. Yeah, usually in the stories of Cottagecore, it's really about ordinary people overcoming simple, about mundane things like yeah. Sure, there can be a harsh drama like. I mean, that isn't. They won't say that isn't an option in Cottagecore, but again, yeah, sometimes yeah. Anyway, usually again, it's all about the mundane things that they embrace and they make more of it. That they take less and make more of it. Yeah, a lot of times the environments aren't always the most magical or the most rich, like the most crazy locations. Again, it's mostly like very mundane things, like a city or like a town or yeah. I know it's very wrong that I talk about Cottagecore and play a violent game. I'm aware of that, but that's what the game I'm not playing. So roll it anyway. Yeah, again, because also that's the reason why I also think that Cottagecore rules is because they're one of my favorite series as Cottagecore. Like, I usually don't like anime like at all. I mean, I think it's again that's probably one of the easy examples that is an easy example of taking more and making less out of it. I mean, like they always have like a super moves or like the most epic plot for so to speak. But like, I mean, guess what? Action can be very boring if there's no stakes or like no choreography. Like here's the thing: I don't think that action in itself is fun to watch. It's the choreography, the pacing, the again, I guess the characters' struggles. Like yeah, maybe that what makes it interesting. Like yeah. Like I mean, I'm very desensitized with like the most like I'll just call it the mainstream movies like the superhero movies like Now I don't probably watched one, but I'm just this interested. I mean, in them like yeah. Again, yeah. Now back to college. Yeah, again, maybe I still need to explain more. Oh no! I slipped. Anyway, again, guess what? I mean, I'll say is this: Cottagecore can't rely on action or like a very extreme location. I mean, again, it has to be it has to find a way to make the mundane things interesting, and the better ones at least does a really good job. I mean, I'm not saying that it can't have like fantasy elements, like the one I can think of is like Moomins or like maybe like Kiki's Delivery Service, which is like one of my favorite movies of all time. Again, a lot of Studio Ghibli is considered one of the greatest studios of all time. Again, and one more famous work like Kiki's Delivery Service or like My Neighbor Totoro really can actually fit in the Cottagecore aesthetics. In the Cottagecore aesthetics, like I mean, like Leno Totoro, like or like Kiki's Delivery Service, like I said before. How hell, like the last one, well, the second last one is well, again about making planes, like about in World War II. But again, it isn't about the war itself. It's about someone who's passionate about making planes. It's more about that, yeah. Of course, dealing with struggles like again with all the struggles, yeah. Again, a lot of times it's about mundane things. Like yeah, I mean the ones that always come to mind when I talk about Cottagecore is about Anne of Green Gables and Heidi of the Alps. Yeah. Again, yeah, again. They don't have the most crazy locations or the most crazy action. They again have to rely on the mundane things to make it work. And yeah, a lot of times, spend times that says you don't need conflict to make to be at least like harsh conflict to make it interesting. You don't need or like having like a super dramatic character developments. A lot of times can be like the again simple things. Yeah, and again, yeah, once again, Cottagecore can't rely on extremes to. At least they don't have to rely on extremes to, I guess, to create a compelling plot. I mean, yeah. Again, and that's what is kind of the irony. Like, I mean, an easy example I think was like a good book will always be better than a decent movie. I mean, yeah. Again, like books only have text and inked. Well, sometimes pictures, but let's pretend they don't have pictures. I mean, yeah. And books only need paper and black ink in order to tell a good story. I mean, yeah. Again, now, guess what? Yeah. And yeah, sometimes, yeah. Again, the reason why I think Cottagecore rules is because again, one of my favorite works is Cottagecore. So yeah, like Heidi of the Alps and Anne of Green Gables. Yeah, well, a lot of Studio Ghibli, I guess. Yeah, again, maybe I need to talk about. Some people have heard about Cottagecore, like oh, it's more like the policy as a niche subgenre, like it's like an aesthetic, or they only care about the aesthetic, but Cottagecore tells stories. Like yeah, lo and behold, yeah, they have characters that can get invested in. Yeah. Again, yeah. What else? Yeah. And what like I said before, they often have to take less and make more out of it. Yeah, sometimes Cottagecore can have humor. Like yeah, I think an example of Green Gables is like that. Many of the girls claim they wouldn't cry about this somewhat, not somewhat unpleasant teacher, like because he had to leave, and they all claim that they wouldn't cry. But the moment when the time when it comes, but he gives kind of his speech that he was going to leave. One by one, like they were like crying, like crying their eyes out one by one, and it's kind of funny, like or or like that yeah, again spoilers, that green Anne, like one of his one of the one of one of Matthew's one of the guys that Matthew hired to help him in the farm. Well, well, here's the thing. Well, because Anne saw some apples. Well, she ate some. Well, that guy who worked at helps by the farm got annoyed that the fact that she ate apples and told her that it was poisonous, and of course Anne completely falling for it. Like, yeah, it's pretty funny. And well, and since Anne can be a very soap dramatic, somewhat I guess melodramatic. Well, again, her melodramatic way of speaking is often played for laughs. Like there's a certain sincerity, or of course they all is aware of how kind of silly and ridiculous it is, but there's unperfect sincerity to it. Yeah. Of course, in the later the episodes, what means give the response of what? Oh, I thought you figured out by now. Like, yeah, and of course Anne being completely furious, like, oh, I never forgive you. Like, yeah, again, that's an example. Yeah, Cottagecore can be humorous. Cottagecore can have drama. Like, I mean, it isn't above having heavy subjects. Like, I mean, that can be a part of it, but again, yeah, because again, that is a part of life. Like, yeah, kind of like losing a loved one, or maybe like dealing with a terminal illness, or again, these things can be part of life. Yeah, or dealing, yeah, again. I mean, it's not Cottagecore is not above conflict. Like, I mean, maybe like but it's more like maybe like dealing with a bully, or like or a snobby neighbor, or like again. Sometimes again, I think what also what makes it work is that maybe like in the moment when there's some antagonism, when there's I guess antagonism or drama, the villains or like the things that they overcome is a bit more grounded in reality. Like I mean, like for instance, like in Kiki's delivery service, like the moment when, well, the fact that she well, again almost caused an accident, and one of the cops, well, isn't really a bad guy, because, well, of course wanted to fine her. We'll give her a fine. Yeah, again, he's not really a villain. He's more, well, he's just doing his job. And yeah, now of course the conflict is that there is some mild conflict that she kind of needs to avoid the police, but it's more like a passive element. It's more like a passive element of the movie. And in the end of the movie, again, spoilers. Again, in the end of the movie, well, to when a police officer visits Kiki's shop, he kind of just well, again salutes, congratulates her, like pulls his hat off to her. Like, I mean, there's like indicating that there's no more animosity towards them. So yeah. Heck, one of the more criticized aspects of Kiki's delivery service that I guess the climax about little Tommy having being stuck who's the, but being hanging dear life on a blimp. Yeah, Again, that's probably like a lot of people claim that's a little unnecessary. Well, I don't think the scene was bad, but I don't think it was necessary. Like, yeah, I don't think it wasn't even bad, but maybe unnecessary. But yeah, again, it's proven very strong that it doesn't need like a super conflict. Well, sure there is some conflict. Like, I mean, again, like the growing pains of again going to a new city and yeah, meeting new people. I guess again, well, there is always conflict. Like meeting new. Again, it's usually mundane. Like, yeah. It's usually mundane, like I said before. Yeah, again and again, and these things can be even equally as interesting, if not more so, than movies that are like super epic or like super epic or super violent or super again or ones that tell the most epic story. I mean, I'm not saying that Cottagecore is instantly better, but it proves that no idea is good. No idea is good or bad. It's only the execution that matters. I mean, yeah, it's only as good as the execution. Yeah, sure, Cottagecore can be bad. Like, I mean, the art created equally. I mean, maybe I'm gonna start with some new stories, but like called Raimi. I thought that was a little underwhelming. Now, it wasn't bad, but after watching Heidi, they aren't created equally. So, here's my zoom button. Yes. Anyway, let me tell you, they aren't created equally. And of course, again, do a bad writing or bad pacing. Yeah. Again, some like I said before, like some people treated Cottagecore as just a like this niche genre, like this aesthetic. But again, the bad Cottagecore still respect the fundamentals of again like telling a story or like or pacing or yeah, it still needs to do those things in order to be good. Yeah, because again and sure and of course and Cottagecore is again not above fancy elements. I mean, like, I guess one that comes to mind is like the Moomins or now I guess also Animal Crossing, though I'm not very too familiar with that game. But again, like all version Quack, like having characters be like animal, being animals or like fantasy, like yeah, in above fantasy. I mean, yeah, like Kiki's Delivery Service being a witch or like my neighbor Totoro, well, my Totoro, yeah, itself was this magical, like I mean, making plans or like being like him jumping on, like making a jump and having the rain or like stop for a moment. Yeah, isn't above the finance elements, but again, Cottagecore focus more on the again mundane things about living. Yeah, like I said before, like a Sheer or like the Owl House, the best, the more thing what people talk about is about the character conflict, yeah, not the action itself. I mean, sure, I mean these things are fine and dandy, and I'm not saying that action is like have no value, like, but again, I guess the thing that most people think highly of is again the characters itself, yeah, and Cottagecore says to himself, well, why not just abandon that and just focus on try to focus on the character themselves and not focus too much on conflict, not too much focus on heavy conflict, and rather focus more on the characters, focus more on the characters' inner struggles and or the again, well, the inner struggles, yeah, I'm kind of fumbling over my own words, yeah, well, completely focus on that, so yeah. Guess what? Again, and again, like I said before, bigger skill does not make a better story or like or make things more interesting. Like yeah, kind of like how a bigger world does not make a more compelling world. Again, I will say this about open world games. Just because sure many people say that open world games is quantity over quality, but I wouldn't say that it's not necessarily eliminates just because its world is big doesn't mean that eliminates that, but it also doesn't mean that increases that. It also doesn't mean that it increases depth. Yeah, and you can have like a large open world, but again, again, I guess the one that comes to mind is like Breath of the Wild or like Elden Ring. Yeah, but again, large world doesn't eliminate that, but does also increase the depth of gameplay. Yeah. Anyway, again, like I said before, a huge conflict doesn't eliminate that, but it also doesn't mean that makes it doesn't eliminate depth, but also doesn't increase depth. Yeah, sometimes just having the characters take a moment to sit back or like sit at a campfire and reminiscing on things. Depends on what story you're telling. It's often more impactful. Sometimes, like again, one of the best scenes of like Spirited Away, again spoilers, is that train scene. Again, it usually was like a huge chase scene before that, but now after that it's just a moment to rest, and it's probably one of the best moments of cinema of all time. Yeah, of course, again, and Cottagecore tends to also have very good music. Again, that's also elements that can make Cottagecore strong, better. Hell, I guess what a lot of times again, if Cottagecore wants to make music, usually has to more subdue, like a more like a can have like the most epic scores, like yeah, can have like the most epic battles music or the greatest orchestras, like maybe it has to be more softer because or like this is from hell. They can also be the most bombastic or like the most that would be more like simple and more subdued again, like I said before. Usually, again, that's what I like. I mean, I tend to dislike like heavy orchestras less and less lately. Not usually not in favor anymore about heavy orchestras or like super epic music. I prefer more like reserved. I mean, like why is it like so very hard to find the more the accordion version, or like the movie version of A Town with an Ocean View. I mean, there's so many covers. I mean, so many orchestrated versions, but not the movie one. Like it's more like an accordion sounding, and I feel like it's still like the best one. Am I live? Yes, I am live. I hope. Anyway, no, what is this? What's this? Power everywhere. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, again. Heck, because what? I mean, and my tip is make great art that, again, the best art is often the ones that are willing to take less. I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm going to give you like a fight scene example, like maybe like a brave prince. Let's go with that. Let's call him that. The brave prince has to overcome a big brute. Like yeah, of course, the prince can't just go straight to him and fight him. Like he has to use his wits. He has to use his. Maybe his speed, like yeah, maybe let's call him a big ogre. Yes, I mean he has to overcome a brutish ogre. You can't just go straight to him and attack him. I guess he needs to use his environment, his wits, his speed. I mean yeah, maybe uses the environment. Hell, I think an important aspect about creating a fight scene is it's just the character that fight, but also the environment that they're in. Like maybe like the ship is sinking, or or like maybe they're like fighting on a balancing board, like or a tightrope. Again, heck, sometimes another example I can give you is like the scene of Gauk from the Dark Souls, like when he shut down that dragon Calamite. I mean, yeah, like he just picked up his bow and starts shooting. But well, since he was his helm blinded him. Let's roll with it. He slowly puts down his carvings. He slowly down puts his carvings. He, I guess, well, since he is blinded by his helmet, he somewhat blindly tries to pick up his bow. He slowly raises his stands up. When he picks up his bow, he lets out a groan. Then when he's pulling his bow, then like it's very slowly at first. And that dragon Calamite kind of rushes towards him. Then when Gauk kind of holding his gigantic bow firmly, he's a giant if you don't know. Then poof, and you see that one arrow fly towards the dragon Calamite. Again, my point is, well, if you don't get what I'm talking about, the point is the wind up is about as important as the fight itself. Like, yeah, I mean, again, like my description, so what he did, that is about as important. Well, as the fight itself, yeah. Well, it isn't really a fight; it's more the wind up, yeah. Heck, that's something that's I guess one of the more important things about fight scenes is the wind up itself. The wind up is about as important as the the punch itself. Like, and I guess a gameplay example is that of having like weapons hit hard and feel satisfying to use. I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah, like shooting is not very original nowadays. Well, it never was original, but the point is not being original. It's about satisfaction. Like maybe like an example is like a golden eye or like perfect target. Like when you shoot in the hand, they react being shot in the hand or in the leg, or like a headshot that is mostly an instant kill. Yeah. Again, or like when you use an explosion that they fly to Kingdom Come. Yeah. Yeah. Again, that's about as important. It's about as important as I guess the shooting itself is more important than the shooting itself or like fighting itself. Like, yeah, it can also be like melee combat, so like using like a sword or like a fight, like, yeah, or like using a fist. Again, it's about as important as yeah. No, it's more important than the fight itself. Yeah. Kind of for like having emotional weight. Like, yeah. Sometimes. I mean, I think that the raise the stake higher is not always the best option for making fights more interesting. Like, I mean, if you make the danger too dangerous, well, you just know that the main hero is going to survive. Like how maybe like your main characters being like a risk of being captured. That can be more threatening because it can actually happen because, well, so again usually heroes are getting killed off early, so usually most people will guess that they ain't gonna die. So maybe like again like the risk being captured is like more likely is a bigger chance of happening because, well, they can escape later. So yeah. I mean, like raising the stake. I mean, another bad example is having like an anime villain that is like having a higher power level. They explain how they have a higher power level. Like, I mean, it's constantly show that the main character can't win, but only for like but only like at the end of the episode, having like a Deus Ex Machina. I mean, yeah, like I mean, yeah, because well, the story has to continue. Like, yeah, it just feels like lazy. Yeah, like raise and stake isn't always like the best way of making things interesting. Like, yeah, I think some of the better conflict is about having villains that like having antagonists that also have like may struggle with things like yeah, like have their own like flaws like to overcome. Like I don't know, like one I can think of mind is like Kyle Ren versus like Ray. Like I mean, well sure, yeah, or like maybe like Darth Vader like Luke Skywalker like having like suffering from inner turmoil. Like yeah. Or like maybe like Palpatine, yeah, I'm going to use Star Wars. I mean, when it says he often portrays himself as like a little as a weak, like when one of his famous films like this is what I'm talking about. The Jedi are taking over. Like he often portrays himself as like somewhat weak. Like yeah, again, it's like way too easy to make the villain like quote unquote super unstoppable, only for at the end of the conflict. Do a complete U-turn on like a Deus Ex Machina. That can be like more annoying. Like yeah, itself. Yeah. Again, writing story. It all depends what you want to do. Yeah. Again, now maybe back to Cottagecore before. What else I have to say? Yeah. Again, one of my favorite works is Cottagecore. Like Heidi of the Alps, like Anne of Green Gables. Kiki's Delivery Service, yeah. Again, yeah. Like I said before, Cottagecore is just a niche genre that is like an aesthetic. Like I said before, I mean, these are stories to be told. Like these are, yeah. Again, it wants to be good. It still needs to respect the fundamentals of like. Character development, character expression, atmosphere, pacing. Again, Cottagecore is not always created equally. I mean, again, like I said before, like Raimi, I feel like it's a huge downgrade of like Heidi of the Alps. I mean, or like Anne of Green Gables. So yeah, I mean, like the like a simple example is like the harsh moment or like the emotional moments, or there are good ones. It's like a little too little. It's a little too on the nose. Like that example, like Raimi itself is a little too typical white-eyed kid. I mean, a little too stock white-eyed kid character trope. Again, they aren't created equally, so yeah. Again, and of course, I guess now both the people that say that oh, color is boring because there's no conflict, but again, conflict itself is never interesting. It on itself, like it's never good automatically. I mean, it has to be well made. Again, it all depends how well it's made. That's again everything with about telling stories. Yeah. Again, it's the equivalent of a good book being better than a decent movie. Yeah, I think I all want to say actually. I think I'm talked out. And remember, stay safe and goodbye.